Well, we finally got the big reveal.
That we did.
The Switch 2.
I mean, we got a reveal a couple months ago where Nintendo was like, all right, this is what it looks like. Shut the hell up now.
Shut up.
Shut up for a couple of months.
Here it is. So...
Full hour, Ian. A full hour.
Full hour. I watched the whole thing. And I'm going to be honest. I kept waiting to be excited.
Uh-oh. They're going to lose Ian.
No, you didn't lose me. I mean, I like my Nintendo Switch. I'm going to get a Switch 2. I'm sure I will enjoy it. I like the things that they're adding. I think the mouse functionality is cool.
Great for the new Metroid Prime.
Backwards compatibility is nice. I would like to see a list of the compatibility because they were like, some games will not be compatible, and that made me nervous. I'm hoping it's a high level of backwards compatibility.
They say that in the direct or afterwards?
They say, well, they talk about how it will play compatible Switch games.
Uh-oh.
So there's two ways to look at that. That's a legalese word to stop them from getting, in trouble if some games just don't happen to work right on it. But that also leads me to believe that it's not going to be... It leads me to believe that the backwards compatibility could be something similar to how Microsoft did it, which is where games become backwards compatible in batches. That would be a concern to me.
Oh, they're gonna fucking digitally lock some of these, you think?
I don't know. So I'm not going to be doom and gloom here, but that was one of my bigger problems with the direct was they didn't give concretes on anything. They didn't talk about what compatible games meant. They didn't talk about what the price of the plus packs would cost for games like Zelda and Kirby and Super Mario.
Afterwards, I think I found it for Zelda.
But they should have said it during the direct.
It's $10 for the Zelda upgrade packs for the two games.
Charging us for a tech demo and not telling us how much you're going to charge for the tech demo.
Okay, I was going to hold off on that, but you're going to go swing out of the gates on that.
I'm talking about the things that
your first impression.
My first impressions,
sure.
And my first impression is kind of a negative one, and here's why. The Switch came out and it did gangbusters, right? The Wii U was a mess of a failure, and they released the Switch. Incredible idea, great idea, comes out, does great. But I think something that people kind of noticed with the Switch was it lacked a lot of what makes things Nintendo.
Sure.
There wasn't as much of the Nintendo charm. There were no themes coming off of something like the 3DS and the Wii U that were, even the Wii U, besides, being a failure of a system, had a charming interface. The 3DS had a charming interface. A lot of things that you could change the background music. You could do themes and things like that. The Street Pass games. I mean, we're talking like the height of some of Nintendo's most creative things. Mm-hmm. The Switch didn't have that. And I think people looked at it, and I know I did myself. And I said, okay, they're playing this one a little closer to the chest after the failure of the Wii U. That makes sense. I think we're going to get a Switch 2, and we're going to see them, work some more Nintendo things back into it. And we're not getting that. And I think my concern is that Nintendo is trying to be more like every other company. My concern is that they're trying to release a system that people will think of in the same breath as PlayStation and Xbox, and that to me
is not Nintendo.
It's not Nintendo, but that could be very devastating, because the reason why Nintendo has always succeeded is because they did a very good job of getting gamers into a mindset where you gotta have a Sony or a Microsoft, and then you get your Nintendo for the Nintendo first-party software and for what makes Nintendo consoles unique and playful. And we're losing all of that. It was a very non-Nintendo console presentation and launch.
Well, they led with Mario Kart World,
which looks great, by the way.
Sure, but open world's now the thing with Nintendo games. An open world Mario Kart where you can explore around with your friends besides standard races.
I like the idea of being able to link multiple races in a row without a stop. as doing kind of like a
Grand Prix sort of circuit,
kind of like a Grand Prix or like a cross country sort of like a cannonball run sort of like.
That's a smart idea.
I like that. I think the game is going to be fine, but Nintendo also did this weird thing where they opened with a racing game and then they basically closed with a racing game.
That's what
their second to last game was Kirby's Air Ride. Like, well, you needed to announce that right now. That couldn't wait for a future direct because it's like, cool, racing games.
That's what gave me pause when that was their heavy hitter. That
was their surprise heavy hitter at the end. Was
when
like,
everyone. Well, no, I mean, like in general, that the Mario Kart game to me is usually in my head not the lead title on the new console. To me, it's like the first big game after the big launch window. That's how I always look at it. It's like, okay, we establish the base. Everyone's excited for another game, whether it's Super Mario Odyssey, Breath of the Wild, or whatever. Now we hit them. Now that the user base is saturated, now we hit them with Mario Kart because now we can sell a ton of them to and maximize.
Well, Mario Kart 8 came out very early in the original Switch's lifespan too. It just wasn't a launch game. It was only like 2 or 3 months after the Switch came out. But I agree, and I think something that they did with this announcement that
I guess it showed me that they didn't have anything else. Yeah, which was surprising.
Right. No, that's exactly it.
That's more. Yeah.
When the Switch came out, what they did smartly was like, yeah, Breath of the Wild is on the Wii U too, but
you don't want to get that.
But they pushed it on the Switch.
Yeah.
I don't know why they didn't do that with Metroid.
Yeah, that's a shock because I think we said a month or two ago that they would probably do the same thing. Why wouldn't they? It's the same exact scenario.
And there is going to be a Metroid version for the Switch too.
Why didn't they push that during the presentation? Why did they have a separate presentation only a week before?
Right. Start with Metroid.
Yes.
Start with Metroid. Yeah. Say it's also coming to the Switch. Get people hyped for the game that they haven't seen. Don't fucking show it a week before. Yeah, and then drop Mario Kart.
That was strange. That was
Mario Kart. And even though you're faking it because this game is also coming out on the Switch,
that was the same thing with Breath of the Wild.
Optically, it's going to seem much bigger and it's going to appeal to a lot more people.
Yeah, look, that was a Nintendo usually on their marketing and their timing is usually spot on. That was a big to me. There was no reason to have a separate one for Metroid, and I guess for the game card trading shit. Like, why wouldn't you just hold that back so it's even a bigger punch with Mario Kart? And because now it's like, what's the big heavy hitters?
I don't know. I literally have no fucking idea why they did not tease something else instead of fucking Kirby's Air Ride. And my other problem with it is there was just nothing new. All the stuff coming from third parties is games that we've been able to play on PC or other consoles now being ported over.
Sure. You have 5-year-old games coming over.
And, the big Capcom thing is we're getting a port of Street Fighter 6. And to me, it really does feel like they're trying to play this weird also-ran. And I don't think it's going to be that way for the entirety of the Switch 2 lifespan. But it was a really, really unimpressive debut.
I don't want to say shocked, but the fact that you had 8 years in between these two consoles, which is the longest Nintendo's ever had for a non-handheld between iterations, the fact that they didn't have more bullets in the chamber. That was so surprising.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it.
That was like, you knew that you had this. It's almost like
you've had 7 years since Mario Odyssey. You haven't done anything else with Mario on the Switch except for, again, like they're doing with these Switch Plus packs. They did take Super Mario 3D World, which was a great game, and they added Bowser's Fury onto it, which I loved, but it was a half game. They haven't done anything else with Mario in a big way since Odyssey. You're telling me you couldn't put together
some 3D Mario
You've got
game?
Something in the works. Give us a teaser. Like, it was... I don't know. It was... It was really disappointing.
Here's the issue. This is not a Wii U to Wii thing, but it's not distinct enough that you can get away with not having more big games. Because this is a super version of... It's a Super Switch. It's a bigger, more up-to-date Switch. It's not revolutionary anymore. That happened. That's over with.
And I don't mind. I mean, I was one of those people who said, please, Nintendo, just give us a Switch 2. That's all I wanted.
Yes.
I mean, that I did want. I wanted them to stay with that form factor. I didn't want them to get fucking wacky, and try to introduce something new or crazy. Mouse capabilities is something that will actually be fucking great for a lot of games.
Game chat finally with a button to activate it.
But so again, though, the focus on game chat, like communicating with a fucking web camera, is something that we should all be blown away by.
Which, by the way, they're selling their own webcam. I guess you can use your own. That wasn't clear.
You can use your own.
If not, that'd be really shitty to have a proprietary webcam. Force you to spend another $20-$30 on something that everyone has a webcam at this point.
Microsoft did this with their webcams on the 360 for Uno, and people were getting their dicks out. Like, it's just...
Uno, Xbox One.
And it's just, I am... If I can buy this at launch, great, I'll get Mario Kart. But if I can't, I am not going out of my way for this.
There's so much content in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe that I know it's older by now, but there's so much content once you buy all the DLC packs. Like, that's
the only problem with Mario Kart 8 is that the meta has been fucking... I mean, everyone races the same exact car with the same exact person.
And they never rebalanced it.
And they never rebalanced it. Or I really hoped when they added the additional tracks, they would add more car parts to kind of fuck things up
or rebalance the ones that
they
are
never
there.
Did. So that's the only problem with something like Mario Kart 8 is it's been out for so long that, yes, content-wise, it's a feast, but everyone's playing the game the same way.
Game chat... Obviously, I guess they don't care anymore about weird shit happening because it's with your friends. It's not going to be a public thing. I like the fact that you can see the other screens, but you're not going to be focusing on that. If you're playing a game like Mario Kart, you won't have time to look at the other screens. Like, that's a small thing. And I like the fact that they aren't trying to gussy it up. Like, it ain't going to be smooth because it's going to be like you're going to get like your 12 frames a second. But
I do like that they were realistic.
They were honestly. This is going to be 60 frames seeing 4 other screens because that's going to be impossible to do that. Over even a high bandwidth. Real quick now because I'm seeing them. The same marketing towards the 26-year-olds, which is just. I understand why they do it.
I think that makes perfect sense.
I just think it's interesting because like all the commercials for the Switch stuff the past years has focused on older, like people that grew up in the 80s and having kids. Like they switched to that, pardon the pun, to their marketing, and now we're back to 23 to 27-year-old, just like the original Switch video in the fall of 2016, like having your little rooftop parties. I think it's interesting.
Video games in general, the age, and we've talked about this a billion times on here, the demographic for video games is not the demographic it was when we were younger. It's not kids anymore.
No, it's getting older, but it should be older than this because the families are the ones that are going to be like buying this now. The ones that like our age, that if we had kids, would be buying this. Going back to the tech demo thing. Whoops. Parental controls, local multiple systems, one game. That's cool. They're going their whole... I have a Twitter thread go through. They're basically doing the whole Game Boy Advance adapter thing now, where it's like, hey, you can share the multiplayer version of a game with someone. Which is cool.
A lot of Game Boy Advance games didn't let you do that.
Well, I mean, they came out with the adapter just... The adapter was to do that. That's what I'm saying. There was like 20 games where they did that. It wasn't a ton.
Anyways, yes, I do like the fact that you no longer... everyone does not need a copy of the game.
Yes, if you have an 8-player multiplayer on Mario Kart, maybe you only need 4 people, and then you can share it with the friend. Like that's
DS did that every once in a while, but it was always a limited version of the game. God damn it!
Consoles are this. The stuff they announced 2 months ago. It's almost like they should have said, "Screw you, we're not going to do this little mini announcement. We're going to wait." Like I understand why they did it because all the leaks. But like, there's like for half of this direct, it was like, okay, we've seen this before. Okay, the kickstand's better now. Thank you. You can't snap it as easily.
Yeah, like
we have two USB-Cs instead of one.
Yes, I think my thing is like focusing on that makes the fact that you have nothing else to show, like. The silence on other things is very loud when it's like, why are you showing me off the fucking kickstand?
Yeah, you can do 4K with the built-in fan on the dock. That's cool. You're going to get higher output. Not all the games, they didn't say that, but a lot of them, okay, because some people were worried about that. So you got your 4K Nintendo system.
I really would have loved to have seen, I mentioned it slightly before, but I would have loved to have seen any information on backwards compatibility, any information other than compatible games.
Okay, now I'm looking at the video part with the Welcome Tour minigame. I am shocked that Nintendo would not have this free.
Me too.
I'm fucking shocked because this isn't. I always thought 1-2 Switch should have been either a $20 budget game or, if not included.
Yes, but it was garbage. But it at least tried to be.
It was a game
on the outside, even though it was the tech demo. It was,
yes,
but it tried to be. This is literally they say it's a tech demo, and you can pay for the privilege on the eShop.
Yes.
It's just insane. Even if it's $5, insane. $5 would be more insulting to me because it's like
just put it, just pack
because
it.
Just
we're
fucking
paying,
pack it in.
We're paying 50% more than the Switch, which I'll get to. Give us something for free.
Yeah,
something. Shock. Once I saw that, in my head, I said, "Did something happen in Nintendo of Japan where they lost the sight of what they are?
Yes.
Is this?" Like the success of the movie making over like $1 billion, the Mario movie, they're doing a Zelda movie, it's coming out in 2 years. Did obviously Nintendo always wants to make money, but did they lose the sight of they always had a factor and always a price point that made it not seem ridiculous? Did they now tip over that? And we're going to talk about the price in a second, and that's not all under the control maybe. But the tech demo, like, would the Wii have sold nearly as well? It would not have if Wii Sports was not free packed in. Absolutely not.
And in prior years, their tech demos have been free. Wii Sports was a pack-in.
Yes, right,
Nintendo Land was a pack-in
Yes.
initially, at least.
Yes.
It was a pack-in.
Yes. You had to.
Yeah. But
it's a price value proposition.
Yeah.
It's called a loss leader. You want to get people in the door, make them not feel like they're getting ripped off. They're getting something for their money.
This is not going to be an in-depth 20-hour experience. This is probably going to be a 3-hour thing.
But then I read though recently that Reggie Fils-Aimé said he had to convince them to put Nintendo Land in the Wii U for free. Like they weren't going to. So maybe and then I read something else that Nintendo doesn't want to give away their stuff for free, but it's like
a tech demo is not giving away Mario.
It's a stepping stone into the ecosystem.
Yes.
It's like, this is why stores put things on sale that get you through the door. They make their money back on the other items.
And make us download it from the eShop. Use it as a tutorial on how to get something from the eShop, but don't fucking charge for it.
I was shocked when I saw that.
Me too. That was mentioned early. That was mentioned early in the direct, and that was
that was a bad sign.
That was immediately when my excitement was like, "Oh no!"
Like, why are you? What? I understand everything is human hours, but Nintendo, you have more money, even before the Wii U failure, and afterward, you had more money than God, and you just sold another 150 million consoles. Like you will never go out of business ever. Like, why are you concerned about losing a little bit of money on a tech demo? I was flabbergasted by that.
Yep.
Mouse controls, third-party games coming some have been out forever on other consoles. You got a Hyrule Warriors thing. You have the upgrade packs on the games. Like you said, we're trying to find some upgrades will be free if you own the Switch game. There's a list I have here of some that are free. Some you got $10 for the Zelda upgrade packs. Are you saying we don't know that all of them that are free are paid for yet?
No, I don't think we do.
So free ones include ARMS, Big Brain Academy, Captain Toad, Clubhouse games, the GOAT. Even though you don't have to what upgrade do you need for Clubhouse games? I say it's on the list. I just think that's funny. You don't need better performance to do mahjong on that.
Might be a free upgrade for what they mentioned in the previous direct, which was the card sharing, or the virtual card sharing. Clubhouse games is going to be the first game to do that.
Okay, IGN is saying that the Zelda games are free. I saw them saying they were $10. No. So
I do not think those are free.
So is this IGN article wrong from April 3rd? Is this wrong? This might be wrong then. Because they're listing New Super Mario Brothers Deluxe. They're listing Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. They're listing Super Mario 3D World and Bowser's Fury, and listing Super Mario Odyssey as free upgrades.
They may be because they're not coming with extra stuff.
Okay.
The Kirby one is coming with extra stuff, and I'm almost positive the Zelda one is paid
because
it adds extra stuff.
I'm sorry, I misread. It's Echoes of Wisdom and Link's Awakening are free. Not the big games.
Yeah.
Not the big ones. So they probably realize, well, we have to put more time into this. That's fine.
So
if it's only $10, I can live with that.
And I will say this: if you are giving free upgrades to games that aren't adding anything other than perhaps better performance or whatever, good. And the Kirby one, okay, I understand. I understand paying for DLC because you're getting extra game content. So that's okay as long as they're not paying for, straight usage.
Sure. Obviously, this comes out in April. We were both wrong on that. We both said the fall or later.
Or June. You said April.
Oh, I'm sorry. 2 months from now. Yeah. June. We both thought it'd be fall or later. So they want to get this out.
I think I had guessed September.
And I said a little later.
Yeah.
Closer to the holidays. I guess I don't know if they realize that all our quarter sales are going to be down. There's not enough games left to sell. So let's get this out early. But this is almost exactly what happens with, I'm looking at the the Wii U and the 3DS, where it comes out early in the year and no one buys it.
The 3DS, the original Switch came out very early in the year. It came out in March.
Yeah, but we were waiting. We wanted that. That's the point.
Sure.
We need a new console.
Right.
But remember the 3DS came out? There was no early adoption. Partially because the price.
I personally love the 3DS, but I know a lot of people don't. And I've seen many comparisons between this Switch 2 announcement and the 3DS announcement.
Oh, yeah.
As in, there's just, they don't fucking talk about anything.
Yeah.
We're not going to just want the hardware without games. I don't know.
Yeah, 3DS came out in February, and it was not bought until about a year when they lowered the price, which we'll get into.
Yeah. So we're dwelling on stuff. Let's move on to the pricing.
Okay. We were both right on this. I said $350. Ian said $450. If you're in Japan, it's less than $350 US. If you're in the US, it's $450.
But that's $450 to Japan.
We think.
Well, I mean, I know a lot. Japan, your paycheck is very low.
Sure. But this is where...
And the yen is weak.
Yes, for sure. But this is how you know there's something maybe hinky going on maybe with tariffs. For the first time that I remember, there's a third version that is multi-language, not just one version you can get. There's a separate multi-language one that you can export, which is more money than the U.S. to export it.
Yes, because they don't want... They
want the extra money.
Mm-hmm. So basically... let's put it a different way. Most of these systems have had multi-language options in the past. What they're doing is the cheap one in Japan is the one that's more standout. The one that's $333 US in Japan is only Japanese language and will only connect to Japanese eShops. Basically, they're doing something weird where they go back to the 3DS era or older eras. They're releasing a region-locked Japanese system that is cheaper. And then the unregion-locked system that would have been like the normal Switch last generation is the one that they're charging more for. So the Switch that we're getting, the Switch 2 that we're getting, is basically the same price in Japan and here. The region-locked Switch is the cheapest one. And that's weird. That's odd to do.
Well, we have some financial stuff going on right now.
Yep.
That we knew was coming. Nintendo knew was coming.
Oh, he never said any of this. Yes, he did.
Tariffs, which are basically import fees that importers of products have to pay.
A tariff is a tax.
Well,
it's the easiest way to say it.
It's tax that the importer will pay originally, then they have to pass that money onto that cost onto the consumer to make it up. So, for example, if Best Buy has to import a bunch of Nintendo Switches, and say there's I think it's a 24% Japanese tariff we have right now that is about to be instituted. 24%. That means...
Well, the bigger problem is a lot of it's manufactured in, Vietnam.
That's right. Well, that's right. They moved it to avoid...
They moved it to avoid the problems and then got hit with the worst tariffs of all.
So that's why I think it's built into the price a little bit, which we'll get into, because they were trying to avoid this. And they're like, we can't avoid this. Holy shit. So basically, say Best Buy imports these and are forced to pay, 20%. So say they import these originally at a wholesale price. We'll say the wholesale price is $300. Now they're forced at a 20% tariff. Now it's $360. They're not eating that cost, Best Buy. They're going to raise the price up and then pass it along to us. That's how it works, unfortunately. The consumer ends up getting hit. It ends up being a sales tax in essence. It's an invisible sales tax that hurts. So,
and you know something is going on with Nintendo because they were supposed to start the pre-orders tomorrow, and they've delayed it in the U.S.
They delayed it within a couple of days. Oh no, we're gonna delay these.
I think the next day
because they're like they're scared now. This is the bad news. That 450, in my opinion, has some built-in tariff cushion. That might not be enough anymore.
Yep.
You could be looking at a $500 or more Switch 2 potentially in North America.
And I hate to say this, but over the past 5 years, I've become a pretty big PC gamer. The Switch is the only thing I play that's a console.
Sure.
And if the Switch 2... Again, there's probably going to be some Nintendo-made games that make me want to get one down the line. But if the Switch 2 enters 500 to 550 territory, I'm buying a fucking Steam Deck.
I think this is a combination of two things. I really think that this was supposed to be between 350 and 400. It's old tech.
My guess is that they probably would have tried to have targeted 400, at which point the 333 with the yen difference wouldn't have seemed as egregious.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. I think they probably built in some tariff cushioning, and it's backfiring.
Because it may not be enough after they announced the price. Because now our retailers are going to be fucked, and they won't be able to order them to make money.
Yep.
Like this was going to happen. So going from 300 to 450 in one generation is a 50% increase, and that is never good. It hurt the PS3. People were shocked when the PS3 price was announced back in 2007. They were like, what the fuck? It went from a $250 console originally, it was, whatever, PS2, to like $700 or $600.
Oh, the PS3, I mean, the pricing of the PS3 was the reason why it didn't get a foothold until fucking 3 years into its lifespan.
This is the danger now you have with this console.
Yep.
Because 50% increase, even if you can use your old Switch Pro controller, great. But now we see an increase in the game amount, $80 for Mario Kart World from $60. That's a 33% increase. And again, it's in a single generation. That's the sticker shock to people, especially from Nintendo. Nintendo does not do these things typically.
Plus, once it enters the price range of a PS5 or an Xbox Series, I can, and other people could make the argument, well, it depends on the games you want to play. But sure. To a mom, to your average casual gamer or family, they're going to look at it and be like, why am I paying for this lower tech item when I can get the higher tech item for the same price?
And a little more salt in the wound, it's a new memory card type.
Yes.
And that's not a lot of money. It's just another extra 20 bucks.
It's a pretty expensive memory
card. Oh, it is?
Yeah, they're
Is it more than like
pricey.
$25? Let's see.
I mean, the Switch ones, the big Switch ones were...
You do get 256 gigs of internal memory. That is good. So you might be able to get away with not having the memory card right away. But just the fact that it's a new memory card type itself, to me, is like, okay, now you're looking at, Ian, if there are no extra tariffs that hit this here, and you can't get the limited...
Yeah, they're expensive. A $128 one...
28 gig, you mean?
128 gigabyte one is $45.
Jesus Christ. For the... What is it?
It's the EX. It's the micro SD EX. Okay. The 512 one is...
We'll just say...
70.
Okay, we'll say you're going to spend $40 extra, we'll just say. If you can't get the $500 combo before tariffs, we'll see if there's any more, that has Mario Kart World in that, you're looking at $450 for the console, $80 for Mario Kart World. You're up to $530.
Insane.
You're eventually going to get one of those, $40. You're quickly approaching $600 for one game on the new console. This is very un-Nintendo-like in their history. And this is,
at least, I mean, it's the presentation is very un-Nintendo.
So I had a Twitter thread, which go over some of this. Here's my other thoughts on it. I woke up. I was not getting up 7 a.m. for it.
6.
It was 6?
No. I'm so glad. I was like, nah, fuck it. I'm going to sleep.
I talked about the different prices in the 3 versions. I said strange for that wide of a price gap and separate multi-language system. Unclear if this is due to weak yen and or tariff anticipation. And it's both probably, but could be more tariffs. Everything we know about the 4K output with a fan. Game share for multiplayer sharing, Switch 2 editions, They held that GameCube from the Switch Online, so you get to pay for the Switch 2 to get it. That was the other thing that I was like.
Oh, that was another weird thing, though. I didn't think it was like the initial games for it weren't that. I mean,
I just think that they knew that they had not enough out of the gate to sell you this. There's no reason the GameCube games can't be on the Switch Online. There's absolutely no reason, at all. So that's why they did that. I said Switch pre-order start April 9th. Whoops. Before they delay them within 48 hours because of all the tariffs and the stock market tumbling and everything else. And then I said about the price for Mario Kart World, and then it was originally $90 for the physical. They pushed back and said, no, it's just 80. I said final initial thoughts, a 50% more expensive console than the Switch with more expensive games, new memory card, a camera, etc. will not be a pill that some consumers can swallow. With a potential looming recession, this makes things worse. This is before there could be more tariffs, by the way. I foresee adoption being slower due to these factors, but I see the original Switch having a longer life, similar to the PS2 surviving into the PS3 era. The Switch has a giant user base that will still buy games for at least a few years. The Switch may not be around for 13 years like the PS2, but with its much lower price than the Switch 2, as a budget console and 150 million users, it has a shot at 10 plus years for sure. We are at 8, and who knows what will happen. Nintendo will likely not abandon that market. They can if no one buys the Switch 2. They're going to have to make more Switch games for the next couple of years.
Yeah.
Or at least figure out something. They got to figure out something because
I think they're kind of at the end of what they can do with the Switch. That's the thing. I don't think they really can keep making more Switch games.
Well, they can. They'll just be this still older tech. They can do a Mario Odyssey sequel.
I don't think that's going to be any better for them.
Well, I'm just saying, like, what happens if only 10 million people buy this in the first year and a half? Or 2 years? Like, what happens if there was a recession and this console costs $600? That's not out of their own possibility.
No.
They're going to have to then rely on it the same way they relied on the 3DS sales when no one was buying the Wii U.
Right, but they don't have the 3DS anymore.
They have the Switch. But like it's old, like you said, it's old tech.
Right.
So this is not good. If you knew all this was going to happen, they might as well wait it till the fall, especially with the tariff shit, and wait to see how that played out. They might as well push this shit back until the fall. They're in trouble now.
Well, yeah, that's basically kind of my end take on this is if this is all you had to show,
might as well wait. Yeah.
Just show it in the summer, like and get it ready for holiday. I have no idea why they decided this was It was just the more I talk about it, it was a really garbage presentation.
Do you imagine if this hits 500 plus? This is supposed to be the family console.
Yeah.
Somewhere Tommy's laughing, I guess, about it because it's
because he's high on gas.
Well, we can't say that.
Allegedly high on gas.
I'm not alleging anything. I don't think he uses gas heat. Yeah. And then the dollar and our dollar might weaken because of shenanigans too. So I think it's unprecedented. I think for a company to say pre-orders and it coming soon and now nope.
Yeah,
we're not doing it anymore because they're scared because of the global economic bullshit. Wow. It's almost like you can't make it up. They were set up perfectly after the Switch. You can't go, like just same with the Wii. You can't go wrong. But now things might be going wrong for some things in their control and some things totally out of their control. I just think it's amazing.
Yep. I would not be excited about this in normal economic times, but I'm
now
definitely not excited about this right now.
Looming recession, potentially more tariffs. Are people going to say, yeah, I want to spend $700 on a Switch 2 and a couple games?
Bonnie and I looked at it and we were like, we'll revisit this next year is basically where we're at.
This is your audience. This is the guy that's the early adopter on all this stuff, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm out."
If it's portable, I'm on top of it, and
Ian's your canary in the Nintendo coal mine.
I think it's rough. So
sorry about that.